Hello and welcome to News Tonight on RajyaSabhaTV. I am Tina Jha. Before we go over to the headlines, RajyaSabhaTV appeals to all its viewers to stay safe from the COVID-19 pandemic. Wear face masks, wash hands and face regularly, and maintain physical distancing whenever you step outside. Remember, these simple precautions by you are all that it takes to defeat the ongoing pandemic. And now, the headlines of the day. The Union Budget to be presented on the 1st of February, budget session of Parliament to start from 29th of January. The first half to continue till the 15th of February, the second half from 8th March to the 8th of April. Legislative Council elections to 12 seats in Uttar Pradesh and by polls to 2 seats in Bihar and 1 seat in Andhra Pradesh on the 28th of January. Polls to be notified on the 11th of January. Centre sets up a control room in New Delhi to monitor bird flu in the states. Teams of doctors and experts to visit Kerala and Haryana. India assures Sri Lanka of help with COVID-19 vaccine and economic revival. Urges leadership to fulfill commitments to Tamils on devolution of power and providing equality, justice and security. And record 60,000 new COVID cases in the UK. Indian High Commission in London suspends consular services till the 20th of February. Positive cases of new strain rises to 73 in India. The budget session of Parliament will commence on the 29th of January and will be held in 2 parts. All COVID-related protocols will be followed during the session, the same as the monsoon session. Now, the first phase of the budget session of Parliament will be held from 29th of January till the 15th of February. The second part will be held from 8th of March till the 8th of April. President Ramnath Kovind will address the joint sitting of the 2 houses of Parliament on 29th of January, while the Union Budget will be presented on the 1st of February. Like the monsoon session, the upcoming budget session is also likely to be held in 2 shifts, morning and evening, with each house sitting in 1 shift using both the chambers. Parliamentary Affairs Minister Prahlad Joshi has said that the government will prefer to introduce all important bills, including any emergency bills or ordinances, in the first half of the budget session. He also said that the government's intention is to complete the session without any curtailment.
From 29th of January, budget session will commence, and first part of it will conclude on 15th of February. And in the first half, normally budget and President address will be there, and discussion on President address and discussion on budget. And if there are any emergency bill or ordinance, that also we will prefer to take. And whatever the other issues, if at all, as it is normally in the first phase, in President's thanks-going motion to the President and the budget, anything can be discussed. And other than that, whatever necessary bills are there, government would like to take. And there will be question hour. And of course, it is the discretion of Speaker and Chairman. And all other things will be there, including 0 hour and everything. And the second half will be from March 8th to April 8th. And in that, we will discuss on the various demands and grants on the various departments, and also other bills which are necessary, finance bill, all those things will be there. This is about the session, and as usual, session hopefully, and last time also, we had planned for the little longer session, but unfortunately, because of some incident and even some of the other opposition members also, they demanded that it should be concluded early because it was a different time. But I am quite hopeful This time it will, as usual, how we run the session every year, that it will, government wishes that it should, the full session, it should take, we should do it. This is what is our intention.
The Election Commission informed on Wednesday that polls to 12 Legislative Council seats in Uttar Pradesh getting vacant later this month and by-polls to 2 Legislative Council seats in Bihar and 1 in Andhra Pradesh will be held on the 28th of January. 12 seats in the UP Legislative Council are getting vacant on the 30th of January as the term of the members is coming to an end. The 12 members would be elected by members of the Legislative Assembly in the biennial elections. Meanwhile, by-polls to 2 Bihar Legislative Council seats were necessitated following the election of BJP leader Sushil Kumar Modi to Rajya Sabha recently and the election of Vinod Narayan Jha to the State Legislative Assembly in the Bihar Assembly elections. In Andhra Pradesh, the Legislative Council by-poll was necessitated following the resignation of P. Sunita in November last year. All the elections and by-elections would be held on the 28th of January, and counting of votes will also be done on the same day. The Union Cabinet, chaired by Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Wednesday, approved the signing of memorandum of cooperation between India and Japan on partnership in specified skilled worker. The memorandum of cooperation would set an institutional mechanism for partnership and cooperation between India and Japan on sending and accepting skilled Indian workers who have qualified the required skill and Japanese language test to work in 14 specified sectors in Japan. Now, these Indian workers would be granted a new status of residence of specified skilled worker by the government of Japan. The memorandum of cooperation would enhance people-to-people contacts, faster mobility of workers and skilled professionals from India to Japan. And the government is gearing up for the COVID-19 vaccination rollout across the country soon. A second nationwide dry run for administering the COVID-19 vaccine will be conducted on the 8th of January. It is aimed at testing all the planned mechanisms for conducting the vaccination drive in the country. Ahead of the dry run, Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan will chair a meeting with the states and union territories' health ministers on Thursday to review the preparedness for the mock drill. Over 170,000 vaccinators and 3 lakh vaccination teams have been trained for the vaccination process across the country. 2 COVID-19 vaccines, Serum Institute's Covishield and Bharat Biotech's Covaxin, have received emergency use approval by the country's drug regulator. And India continues its streak of low daily new cases. 18,088 daily cases were reported from different parts of the country in the last 24 hours, taking the national tally to over 10.35 million. India's active caseload declined to 2,27,000, comprising only 2.19% of the total positive cases. With 21,314 new recoveries in the same period, India continues to report more daily recoveries than the daily new cases of coronavirus. Total recoveries in the country are nearing 1 crore. The national recovery rate has further improved to 96.36%. Also, with 264 new deaths reported in the last 24 hours, the death toll now stands at 1,50,114. The COVID-19 case fatality rate stands at 1.45%. The total tests in the country have crossed 17.74 crore, with over 9,31,000 tests conducted in the last 24 hours. Kerala once again reported 5,615 cases in the last 24 hours, the highest among states. Maharashtra had 3,160 cases, while Chhattisgarh registered 1,021 new cases. Maharashtra saw the maximum casualties at 64. Chhattisgarh had a fatality count of 25, while Kerala reported 24 new deaths. Meanwhile, 2 fresh cases of the new mutated strain of coronavirus from the UK were detected in India. So far, 73 people have been infected with the new virus strain. Moving on, Prime Minister Narendra Modi held a video teleconference with German Chancellor Angela Merkel on Wednesday. The Prime Minister briefed Chancellor Merkel on the developments in India with regard to vaccine development and assured her of India's commitment to deploy its capacities for the benefit of the world. He also thanked her for guiding the growth of the India-Germany strategic partnership. The two leaders discussed key issues of mutual importance, including the response to the COVID-19 pandemic, bilateral ties, regional and global issues, particularly India-EU relations. This year marks the 70th anniversary of setting up of bilateral relations between India and Germany and the 20th anniversary of the strategic partnership. The PM Cares Fund Trust has allocated 201.58 crore rupees to boost medical oxygen generation plants. The fund has been allocated for installation of additional 162 dedicated pressure swing absorption medical oxygen generation plants in public health facilities in the country. The government hospitals where these plants are to be installed have been identified in consultation with the states and union territories concerned. The procurement will be carried out by the Central Medical Supply Store, an autonomous body of the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. Adequate and uninterrupted supply of oxygen is essential for managing moderate and severe cases of COVID-19, and this mechanism will bolster India's fight against the pandemic. The Indian High Commission in the United Kingdom has suspended all consular services amid the new coronavirus restrictions in the country. The services have been suspended until the 20th of February. However, the High Commission has assured of providing assistance in any emergency situation. Britain is reporting over 50,000 new cases since the past week. More than 60,000 COVID-19 cases were reported in the last 24 hours, raising its tally to over 2.77 million. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has announced a new national lockdown to deal with the situation. All non-essential shops, schools and colleges have been closed, while people have been asked to stay homes to contain the new and more contagious COVID-19 variant. Meanwhile, the United States also reported a record high COVID-19 deaths on Tuesday. More than 3,770 deaths and over 229,000 new cases were reported across the country. America now has over 21 million cases of COVID-19. The centre has set up a control room in New Delhi to monitor the situation arising due to the avian influenza or the bird flu outbreak. It will also review the preventive and control measures undertaken by state authorities on a daily basis. The government has identified 12 epicenters of the outbreak so far, reported in Kerala, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh and Himachal Pradesh. The Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying has suggested the affected states to work on an action plan to contain further spread of the infection. It includes strengthening the biosecurity of poultry farms, disinfecting affected areas and proper disposal of the dead birds. The states have also been asked for timely collection and submission of samples for confirmation and surveillance. The ministry, in fact, has also suggested the states to coordinate with the Forest Department and report any unusual mortality of the birds. Besides, the government has also deployed multidisciplinary teams to bird flu-hit districts in Kerala and Haryana. The Health Ministry said on Wednesday that no human case of avian influenza has been reported so far.
एवियन इन्फ्लुएंजा के करीब 5 स्टेट से रिपोर्ट हो चुका है। 1-2 जगह और शायद वो है, चूंकि प्रदेश सरकारों से 5 सरकारों से हमारे पास रिपोर्ट आ चुकी है। हिमाचल, हरियाणा, राजस्थान, मध्य प्रदेश और केरला से ये रिपोर्ट आ चुकी है। और इसमें अभी तक की एक तरह से कह सकते हैं हरियाणा से रिपोर्ट है पोल्ट्री में फैल रही है, नहीं तो वाइल्ड जो बर्ड्स हैं उनमें है। प्रिवेंटिव मेजर जो करते हैं, कोई ट्रीटमेंट तो इसका है नहीं, लेकिन सावधानी बरतें सभी प्रदेश सरकारें, और जो उनका डिस्पोजल ठीक हो बर्ड्स का जो मर चुकी हैं, और उसको किसी तरह से मूवमेंट रेस्ट्रिक्ट किया जाए बर्ड्स का इस समय पे।
Meanwhile, several states have sounded an alert to contain the H5N8 strain of bird flu and are sending samples for testing. Kerala has started culling of chickens and ducks to contain the infection. Karnataka and Tamil Nadu have also stepped up surveillance following the outbreak in neighboring Kerala. Madhya Pradesh has banned import of chicken from Kerala and other southern states for the next 10 days in view of the outbreak in parts of the state. Himachal Pradesh and Rajasthan have also issued bird flu alert after reporting thousands of cases. Meanwhile, Jammu and Kashmir has also sounded an alert and started collecting samples from migratory species. Union Agriculture Minister Narendra Singh Tomar on Wednesday said a large number of farmers from across the country are coming out in support of the 3 farm laws. Addressing the media on Wednesday after meeting a group supporting the laws, the minister said the government is committed towards all farmers of the country and their interests.
भारत सरकार देश के समस्त किसानों के प्रति और उनके हितों के प्रति पूरी तरह प्रतिबद्ध है। इसलिए जो किसान कृषि सुधार बिलों के समर्थन में आते हैं, हम उन्हें भी मिलते हैं। जो विरोध में है उनसे भी चर्चा सरकार निरंतर कर रही है, लेकिन समर्थन में भी काफ़ी बड़ी संख्या देश भर से आ रही है। हम उन्हें मिल भी रहे हैं, वो पत्र भी लिख रहे हैं, फ़ोन पर भी बात कर रहे हैं। उन सब का स्वागत भी है, आभार भी है, और मैं पूरी तरह आश्वस्त भी हूँ कि किसान यूनियन जो आंदोलनरत हैं वो कृषि सुधार बिलों की भावना को समझेंगी और किसानों के हितों पर ध्यान देंगी और सकारात्मक रूप से चर्चा करके कोई न कोई समाधान जरूर निकालेंगी।
The new parliament building will be ready by August 2022. Housing and Urban Affairs Minister Hardeep Singh Puri said this to RajyaSabhaTV in an exclusive interview. He added that the 2 presiding officers will decide on the use of the current parliament building. You can watch the entire interview at 7 p.m. on Thursday.
The timeline is for the ceremony to take place in October 2022. I think it will be done well before August of 2020. Light vents, have been closed. Seating has been there. The building is under strain. So you need to, and it's now in seismic zone 4. So you have to be careful.
In its year-end review 2020, the Defence Ministry has said the Indian Army resolutely countered adversaries on the line of control along Pakistan and the line of actual control along China by carrying out relentless counter-insurgency operations. The review further said that defending the territorial integrity of India in Galwan Valley has been the most shining example of the valor of the forces in which 20 brave Indian soldiers made the supreme sacrifice. The review also listed out other achievements of the Indian Army, the Indian Navy and the Indian Air Force. Here's a report. India has categorically told China that attempts to unilaterally alter the status quo at the border is unacceptable. In its year-end review of 2020, the Ministry of Defence has further stated that the Indian Army is being made future-ready. In this direction, budgetary constraints for capability development and other requirements have been removed. Analyzing the clashes in Galwan Valley with China in June 2020, it said China had amassed troops along the line of actual control. This had prompted the Indian Army to respond in a firm and non-escalatory way. The ministry said the Chinese army used unorthodox weapons in the clashes that led to the death of 20 Indian soldiers. The Defence Ministry said China was responsible for the escalating tensions. It added that the Indian Army had maintained all protocols and agreements between the 2 countries. The review further asserted that the Chinese side suffered significant casualties in the Galwan Valley skirmish on the 15th of June. The ministry said Indian troops preempted Chinese expansionist designs and occupied heights along the southern bank of Pangong Tso. On Pakistan's activities along the line of control, the Indian Army said alertness by troops blunted Pakistan's endeavours to infiltrate terrorists into the Kashmir Valley. The review termed the induction of 8 Rafale aircraft in September 2020 as a game changer for India's national security. The report also mentioned appointment of India's first Chief of Defence Staff. General Bipin Rawat assumed office of CDS on the 1st of January 2020. The CDS is the principal military advisor to the Defence Minister on all tri-services matters. Bureau Report, RajyaSabhaTV. India has assured Sri Lanka to supply vaccines in the fight against COVID-19 pandemic. Besides, India has also assured help to Sri Lanka for economic revival in the post-COVID period. Now, this assurance was given by External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, who is currently in Colombo on a 3-day visit to the island nation. My colleague Akhilesh Suman brings us this report. On his first foreign visit of the year, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar arrived in Colombo on Tuesday. He met Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa and Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa. S. Jaishankar held delegation-level talks with his counterpart Dinesh Gunawardene. He urged the Sri Lankan leadership to fulfill commitments to Tamils on devolution of power and providing equality, justice and security.
Our support for the reconciliation process in Sri Lanka is long-standing, as indeed for an inclusive political outlook that encourages ethnic harmony. It is in Sri Lanka's own interest that the expectations of the Tamil people for equality, justice, peace and dignity within a united Sri Lanka are fulfilled. That applies equally to the commitments made by the Sri Lankan government on meaningful devolution, including the 13th Amendment of the Constitution.
S. Jaishankar discussed issues of defence, security and maritime and fisheries with the Sri Lankan leaders. He assured Sri Lanka of help in the economic revival of the island nation in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. The Sri Lankan Foreign Minister thanked India for standing by its side during the pandemic.
We are now looking at post-COVID cooperation, and I carry back with me Sri Lanka's interest in accessing vaccines from India, and I shared with the Honourable Foreign Minister that India sees, as Prime Minister Modi has said, India sees international cooperation in this area as its duty.
During our talks, we focused on multiple areas of mutual cooperation in the identified sectors of the economy, finance, trade, commerce, defense, security and fisheries, cultural, and particularly on the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic and the post-COVID era that we are moving forward to.
Assuring Sri Lanka that India will be a reliable partner, the External Affairs Minister said India will create special zones for pharmaceuticals in the country and further strengthen ties between both countries in the post-COVID period. With inputs from Akhilesh Suman, Bureau Report, RajyaSabhaTV. And in some other news, the Department of Science and Technology has published the draft National Science, Technology and Innovation Policy. At a press interaction on draft STIP, Secretary, Department of Science and Technology, Professor Ashutosh Sharma said that the aim of the draft policy will be to create an end-to-end science, technology and innovation ecosystem which is inclusive and brings equal benefits to all stakeholders in the process.
It aims to basically create an end-to-end science, technology and innovation ecosystem which is inclusive, which is empowered, which would allow us to do relevant and quality science, technology and innovation, which would permeate every aspect of society. And in fact, we are starting right here, so all of us are actually stakeholders, equal stakeholders in this process, which is to take science, to take knowledge, to every section which needs it, which wants it, and which would benefit by it.
And in some weather news, people living in Delhi and adjoining cities woke up to the rumble of thunder and the sound of hailstones on Wednesday as the National Capital Territory received rainfall for the fourth consecutive day. Dark clouds, lowered visibility and a short spell of heavy showers inundated key stretches of major roads in the city, affecting traffic movement. According to the Weather Department, the intermittent rains in Delhi NCR are due to the influence of a strong western disturbance. In its forecast for the week, the Met Department said the temperature will dip by 4 to 5 degrees in the coming few days, with intense fog conditions in most parts of northern India. Meanwhile, flight operations at the Srinagar airport remained suspended for the fourth consecutive day on Wednesday due to poor visibility following heavy snowfall in the Kashmir Valley. The snowfall stopped after 4 days around Wednesday afternoon. The Met Department said the weather is likely to remain mainly dry till the 14th of January. So that's it from us in this bulletin. But before we leave, we once again appeal and urge all our viewers to stay safe from the COVID-19 pandemic. Wear face masks, wash hands and face regularly, and don't forget to maintain physical distancing while stepping outside. Remember, these simple precautions by you are all that it takes to defeat the pandemic. Good night and thank you for your time.
Thank you.